Hey guys, I'm doing this video in response to Iman's request for us to put a video out there, and I want to really thank Iman for doing the Digital Renaissance event, and it's really taught me a ton of things about the world, about making money, and it's really come at a time in my life where I'm thinking through a lot of things myself and trying to figure out what I believe about the world and about life. And Iman has really provided some valuable insights that have helped me a lot. And so I want to thank him for that. I really like that Iman is a really deliberate guy. He does everything with purpose and he really thinks things through. I really like that about him. In this video, I want to maybe add a little bit to something that Iman touched in one of his videos. And that was when he talked about the 5 traits of a new Renaissance man. And those 5 traits were soaking up the knowledge of people who have come before you and who have done what you aspire to do. Then the second trait was community. And then the 3 kinds of freedom: financial, location, and time freedom. Then he talked about accountability. And finally, self improvement. And I agree with all of those traits. I think those are really um, good things that the new Renaissance man should possess. However, I don't think that Iman went far enough. I think there's actually one trait that's missing. And this one trait, in my opinion, is the single most important trait of the new Renaissance man because it empowers all the other traits. And without this one trait, the new Renaissance man will still be thinking like a puppet master. And again, the puppet master are the elites of society who really control everything that's going on. And so the new Renaissance man can still be thinking like the puppet master. And the puppet master always thinks in terms of what benefits him. He does everything for himself. It's very selfish motivation. And so the new Renaissance man, if he's thinking like that, then he could actually end up becoming like the kind of person that he's trying to escape from. And so I want to talk about the one trait that's the most important trait of a top 1% man. And the one trait is to develop a standard for your life that's based on something outside of yourself that doesn't change and that really corresponds with reality. And I want to say that without this trait, the new Renaissance man will really fade into oblivion with all of his money and he will forever be forgotten. And so I want to talk about what developing this trait looks like. And I want to start off by talking about some reasons why it's so important that the new Renaissance man, and really anyone, develops this one trait for their lives. So we're talking about developing a standard by which to live our lives. And the truth is, we need a standard. We need a code of conduct that we're going to live our lives by. If not, it leads to moral relativism. And, that's the idea that there are no absolutes. And really, that's a problem because that could lead to justifying working for the puppet masters if that benefits you as a person. And so if you're just living your life and doing everything for yourself, then you're going to step over people and you're going to uh, maybe even eventually join forces with the puppet master. Also, human nature is the same in all humans, and the puppet master has the same nature as the poor guy or even as the new Renaissance man. The only thing separating the poor man and the puppet master is that the puppet master has power and wealth, but the heart is the same. And so, really, if the new Renaissance man starts to accumulate power and wealth, he could end up being like the puppet master, and a new cycle of puppet masters could be created. And I think we need to ask ourselves, what's the goal of freedom? Why do we want to be free? Because I don't think the goal of freedom should be for ourselves, because we are really our worst enemies. And so we need a purpose for freedom, because freedom without purpose is very dangerous. Because what happens when all these man islands collide? What happens then? If there's no standard, then anything done in the name of self-preservation is okay. And of course, that doesn't work. We wouldn't be able to um, live together like that. And so the result of not having a standard is that we really don't have an anchor to ground us and to really keep us accountable. And I think that history, especially modern history, is littered with examples of individuals who have accumulated, enormous amounts of wealth and prestige. Some have even gone so far as to buy their own movie companies, their jets, even their islands, and yet they've ended up hung by a rafter in a jail cell because they didn't have a standard. And I don't think that's anyone's idea of a happy, meaningful life. But without a moral compass to guide us, then there's really nothing stopping us from ending up the same way. I don't think we should think that somehow we're better than that, and we're not going to end up like that. We all have the same heart. And unless the heart changes, then there's nothing stopping us from doing the same thing. It was the great Lord Ashton who said, "Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely." And I think there's really a lot of wisdom in that statement. And so, what's the solution to all this? Well, I think the solution is to develop a standard that aligns with reality and that we live our lives by that standard. And I think the standard should have a few criteria. I think the standard for our lives should, first of all, include morals, because reality includes morals. We all agree that certain things are right and certain things are wrong. I think the standard should also have a spiritual side to it, because we as humans, we have a spiritual side to us. And so that should be a part of how we live our lives. And I really liked how Iman was drawing parallels from the Renaissance that happened, and how these great men emerged, and they were really one of the greatest wonders that the world has ever seen. And I think a great example of that is Erasmus. Erasmus was an honest intellectual, and he chose the God of the Bible as his authority, as his standard for his life. And the result was that he became the foremost scholar of his time. And I really think it would be wise for us to follow his example. Because what happens when you've reached ultimate freedom? What then? Having the five traits that Iman talks for the new Renaissance man, they won't provide the purpose. They won't provide a purpose for your life. Purpose comes from living your life according to a standard. And I think that if we don't have a standard in our lives, we're really underestimating the harm that we're capable of. We think that somehow we're above committing evil. And that's a really scary place to be, and a dangerous place to be, because usually it's those who think they're above committing evil who become the worst perpetrators. And so, again, like I said, human nature is the same in all humans. We all have the potential for uh, great, great evil, and we need something to restrain us. Because what could end up happening is Iman's idea of the new Renaissance man could really end up creating a different kind of dark age. Because what would happen is there would be a plethora of young men who have very quickly reached a status of power and have unlimited money and resources. But if they're still thinking like a puppet master, and if they're just living their lives for their pleasure, then really it would create an army of warlords on the loose with nothing holding them back. And we know from history what happens when that's the case. And so I think we really need to check ourselves and really take some time to evaluate what are we living our lives by, and what are we living our lives for. Why are we trying to get all this freedom and all this wealth. You know, if the end goal is just for yourself, then that's very dangerous because you'll do anything to get that, and you could eventually become a puppet master yourself. There's really no difference. And you know, the most enslaving vice, it's not the puppet masters, it's not our environment, it's really the human heart. And unless we change and reform the human heart, then you know that's really the only way to escape the impending dark age. And again, I want to thank Iman for all the knowledge that he's put out there, for all the time he's invested in hosting the digital renaissance. I think he really did a great job. And again, I put this video out there. I hope that it will make some people think, and I hope you guys have a great day.